Every day, you and I get bombarded with negative news. And just like our bodies becomes what we eat, our minds become the information that we consume. If you want to stay positive, it's so important that you also listen to stories that inspires you and uplifts you. In this podcast, we interview world-leading experts dedicated to solving the world's most pressing problems. And if you stick around, I promise you will not only be as informed as if you watch the news, you will feel uplifted, inspired, and have more positive energy in your life. Welcome to Great.com Talks with. Hi and welcome. Today Great.com talks with Carolina Galvani, who is the co-founder and CEO of Synergia Animal. And if you haven't pressed like and subscribe on this video yet, please do so, because today we have a very special guest. Synergia Animal was made a standout charity in 2019 by animal charity evaluators that I have been following, which means that they are one of the most effective organizations out there when it comes to helping animals and improving the life quality of animals. And I really liked what Synergia said on their website, that they are looking to build a world where nobody needs to be hurt in food production. And I think, to me, that makes a lot of sense. So I am very excited to speak with Carolina today. Carolina, hi, how are you?
Hi, Emil, I'm very well. Thank you so much for the invitation. I'm very happy and excited to be here with you today as well. And thank you so much for the very kind words about
You're
our work.
welcome. And I'm excited as well. My heart is definitely in the animal welfare question out of all the shared areas out there. So how would you describe Synergia to someone that is not familiar with your organization, or maybe even the challenges you're facing working in the animal welfare field?
Sure. So we are a very young organization. We were founded in late 2017 in Brazil. And we were founded with the mission to work only in the global south, which are basically developing countries, and also to work in countries that are neglected. And by neglected, we mean that these are countries where no other major international animal protection organization is working with a similar approach. So currently we work in 6 different countries. We work in Argentina, Brazil, Chile, Colombia, Thailand, and Indonesia. And we work to reduce animal suffering or to improve the lives of farmed animals. And we also work to reduce consumption of animal products and promote more compassionate food choices that are plant-based, right? We would like to see a world where animals don't need to be farmed for food production. The challenges we face, I think we do face some very unique challenges because of the countries where we work. I think one of the things to keep in mind is that farmed animal issues are a very new topic in most countries. So the industry usually gets very upset with us when we launch campaigns asking them to phase out the worst forms of animal confinement. For example, one of the key parts of our work is to get major food companies to phase out the use of battery cages for laying hens, for example, which is a very cruel system. And we also ask some companies to phase out the use of gestation crates for breeding sows and some other very cruel forms of animal confinement, such as the use of veal crates as well in the dairy industry. So as we are the kind of the first ones or the only one doing this type of work in these countries, the reactions are very strong. The companies are not used to facing public pressure campaigns, and usually, they get very upset. But having said that, we have been very successful and we have had many victories in this field. I think the other thing as well that it is a challenge and it is unique. It's because we are also one of the very first to be inviting people to have a plant-based diet, or at least to reduce the consumption of animal products. And again, we are dealing with societies in which this is a very new topic. And we have to spend a lot of time breaking myths and really raising awareness because it's something new. I would say these are the major challenges.
Right. And you mentioned breaking myths and building awareness. So we have had quite a few animal welfare organizations on this podcast, and they've all had somewhat different approaches. Some has been working with anything from legislations to even start creating lab-grown meats. So I read on your website that you are a activist organization, or at least you're doing activism. So what is your way of creating this change?
Yeah, so we have different approaches we use. I think the part that is most related to activism are the corporate campaigns. So we believe that the fastest and the most efficient way to reduce animal suffering, to take animals out of the worst forms of animal confinement, is to work with major food companies and ask them to change their supply chains and to stop allowing their suppliers to use these very cruel practices. Most of the times, it's very hard to get companies to commit to these changes without using public awareness campaigns, because it does cost more. And as we know, like, companies are usually very focused on profits, and they don't want to do these changes because, it will increase their costs. And then we start working with campaigns. We launch petitions to inform consumers and to gather thousands of signatures. We have communities of activists in all countries. So these activists, they help us in these campaigns by doing like protests on social media, writing to companies, calling companies, and also we use a lot of peaceful actions on the streets to attract media attention, or to really, for example, it's very common for us to go to the company's office and hold a peaceful protest in front of the office, and we ask them to come down and talk to us, and we ask why they're not responding to our campaigns. So for these two things, like for the online protests and for the actions on the streets, our communities of activists are very engaged, and they play a major role in these campaigns.
Right. And
yeah.
What is a peaceful protest in the world of animal welfare activists? I imagine, like, so would a violent one be throwing blood at people, but the peaceful one is you hold signs with blood on them?
Yeah, I think that there are some elements. When we say peaceful, there are different elements that mean they're peaceful. So, for example, the way we talk to people when we hold these protests is peaceful. We don't go there and we are not aggressive when we talk to people. We always hold like very mature conversations. We don't use any violence in the sense that, like, we are not violent. We don't, like, physically speaking, we don't use any forms of violence. And if people are violent towards us, we won't respond in the same way. We'll never use like verbal or physical aggression in these protests. Yeah. So we are nice. We talk to people. We talk to consumers on the street. We talk to the representatives of the companies or to the police. Sometimes the police comes to see what's happening. And that's always done in a very peaceful way. And our action coordinators and our activists are trained to always behave and respond in a peaceful way.
Right. And you said you want to build awareness and change mindset. I'm from Sweden, and my girlfriend is from Brazil. And she tells me about the food culture. There seems like it's very ingrained in the culture that there is a lot of meat, probably with every meal. So do you see a change in the culture? Like, how is the culture developing in the countries you're active in?
Yeah, in some countries we see more progress than in others. So for example, in Brazil, we see a much bigger movement that has been raising awareness about the benefits of eliminating the consumption of animal products. And we are seeing a lot of progress. Like currently in Brazil, 14% of the population already says, already declares it like themselves as being vegetarians. And that's a very high percentage actually. And we also have, there are different surveys, but we have something between 30 to 60% of Brazilians saying they are willing to reduce their meat consumption. I think we still have a long way to get this 30 to 60% of people to actually reduce their consumption, but the willingness is there. And I think it's pretty much related to the work of animal protection and environmental organizations. We have a major problem in Brazil. Cattle production is responsible for 80% of deforestation in the Amazon. And I think more and more people are becoming aware of the environmental impacts and of the animal suffering as well that happens in meat production. And we are seeing change in the consumer market, I would say. Significant change. In other countries, the progress is smaller and slower. I think we need some years to reach more people and see similar results.
Yeah, significant change to change the trend. It's two such big problems at the same time, with animal suffering, which might be the most suffering that is caused on the planet, and then the climate change problem as well, and it's all in one place. So moving forward, what would be like a victory for you as an organization? What would be a really good thing that could realistically happen in the upcoming years?
Yeah, so with these corporate campaigns, we usually have a lot of victories. So we have many examples in all the countries where we work of companies, of major food companies, committing to eliminating the worst forms of animal confinement. That's a very effective way to measure our impact, and we have some very good outcomes in this area. We also have another program we started last year in Colombia. We work with mostly with public institutions such as schools and universities, and we ask them to reduce their consumption of animal products by 20%. So that basically means that 1 day per week, their canteens or their restaurants will be 100% vegan. And the results are very easy to measure and see as well. So with just 1 year of work in Colombia, we got 9 institutions to commit to implementing this program. And on a yearly basis, they will be serving over 1 million vegan meals. So they will be removing animal products from over 1 million meals. Another campaign that we have, which is very, which we tend to adopt programs that are measurable, because otherwise, we have a very big fight, and if we don't see results, it's very hard to keep ourselves motivated. So the third program that we have that has some very measurable outcomes are our vegan challenges. So we have vegan challenges in all the Latin American countries where we work. and also in Indonesia and Thailand. And usually we get 2,000 to 3,000 people, new people, to sign up every month and try a vegan diet for 21 days. So by the end of the year, we have over 20,000 consumers per country trying a plant-based diet, most of them for the first time. And we also ask them at the end of the challenge if they plan to remain vegan, if they plan to keep eating plant-based. And on average, we have 70 to 80% of people saying yes, they plan to continue with the same diet.
Wow, those are real high numbers. I think what's cool with activism is it seems like both individuals and companies are willing to make a change. Individuals wants to have a healthier, more sustainable lifestyle. The companies want to do good stuff, but there just needs to be a push to get them to start. So yeah, I think the activism you do is really important. And imagine now that someone listening to this, they feel, okay, I understand the impact you can have by doing this kind of work and activism. I somehow want to help out. What should I do? Should I go out and protest on the street? Should I start eating vegan? Should I donate money? What is the best way someone can help out?
I think there are many different ways to help out. So for example, you could create your own organization. You can choose to volunteer for one organization. You can choose to get a job. There are many, like I think most professional organizations have paid staff nowadays. Or you could choose to donate, for example. Being a monthly donor, is crucial for all organizations to have monthly donors. Having said that, I think one of the most important things is that you should choose either to create or to help an organization that has a very clear vision on how to create change. We have a very big problem. The livestock industry is very powerful and it's very big. And I think for most people, it's still normal to consume animal products without questioning a lot where they come from and how they are produced. So we have a very big problem. We need to create a lot of change. So it is important to choose a charity that has a clear mission and measurable outcomes. I don't think we have a lot of time and we should not be spending a lot of resources on things that don't have a clear strategy or that use strategies that are not achievable in the short and mid-term. So I think a clear vision and strategy are two very good things to choose. Even if you want to create a charity, if you want to support one in any way, you should look for, you should consider and understand well the strategy that is being used and go for one that has an effective one, I would say.
I agree. Doing the research beforehand is so important. Now, if someone wants to stay updated to Synergia Animal, what can they do?
Yes, on our international website, which is synergiaanimalinternational.org, we have a page where you can sign up to be an activist. We also have an international community of activists who do online protests, for example. Or you can, and if you sign up, you will receive our newsletters as well about our progress, the things that we are being able to achieve. And another way to keep in touch is to follow us on social media. So again, if you go to Instagram, our account is Synergia Animal International, and the same on Facebook, Synergia Animal International.
Beautiful. Carolina, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with Great.com today.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure to be here, and thank you for giving us the opportunity to talk about our work.
It is our pleasure. And for you listening, if you enjoyed this conversation and you would like for more people to hear about important issues like animal welfare, please consider subscribing to this podcast and press like if you're on YouTube, because that will help us in the algorithms to get out there and reach more people. So thank you very much, and we'll see you in the next episode.